So it's a bit chaotic here this morning, so bear with me. All right, live here, and we're live there. All right. So we have squirrels a million over here today, so I may have to get the dogs in. All right. How are we? Hi, Diane. You guys are ahead of me a little bit. I'm a little bit behind, if you can imagine that. All right, off my mat, sir. Thank you. All right, so I've been playing with my lighting. I've been playing with my, hi, Sandy. Playing with my audio and my spacing and stuff. And of course, the weather is never the same. So one day it's cloudy and the next day it's good. All right, so I think we're pretty good. So I'm gonna leave it like that. All right, so today I had put out there that I wasn't sure what I was gonna do until this morning. So I've been kind of playing it around in my head, and we've combined a few things the last few weeks, right? And I think we're ready to kind of move into some more strength building poses, right? So as always, there's tons of variations of things. So if you're not feeling particularly strong this morning, don't sweat it, right? Do what you need to do any day. And some days that's this, and some days it's not, right? And if what we're doing today is not appealing to you in any way, shape, or form, you can always go back and watch last week's or the week before that you've, oh my God, just so much loved. If you're on my website, I've got classes on there as well. You can take a peek at. So there's plenty of options, right? Because not always. A long time ago, I tuned into, I don't know, like a PBS class on TV forever ago. And I wanted to be mindless and have somebody tell me what to do. So that's what was available to me. And it was 20 minutes of nothing but boat pose. And it just was, no. So it's not always the thing that particular moment. And that's totally fine. Listen to what your body is telling you to do and make sure that, make sure it feels good at the end, right? You don't want to feel like poo, right? That's the whole point of this. Right? So how is everybody this morning? Karen, Amy, Sandy, Diane. All right, you guys, and I don't know who's on YouTube because I know that's a little bit more difficult to chat. But anyway, so we're gonna work with upper body strength, right? First of all, that requires core strength, right? You cannot stand on one arm all by its little self, right? These are the muscles that work to help you hold up here. We're not going to be standing on one arm, kind of, but not, right? Don't panic. But if we're strong in through here, it makes it so much easier for this poor little arm to hold us up, right? So Cheryl, if you're listening, good morning, Barbara. If you're listening, that was sort of when you sent me that email, that's where I already was, and so this is perfect. So anyway, that's where we're going. Make sure you're taking the level that's right for you. Okay, modify, rest when you need to rest, for sure. I'll get there. So feet up underneath the hip bones to begin. Pressing down into the legs, make them strong and even, steady into the mat. Lift the pelvic floor, lower belly in and up, engage along through the sides like we always do, right? And that's where your strength comes from every time. Relax your shoulders, go ahead and close your eyes. And take a moment to just be fully present in how your body's feeling at this moment. Taking the attention to your breath and just watching the natural flow. And gradually begin to expand, taking the inhales a little bigger, and the exhales a little bit more complete. And maintain what you've set here. So keep the belly engaged. Stay focused on these nice big breaths here. You can leave your eyes closed for another moment or two if you'd like. On an inhale, we're going to take the arms, stretch them up toward the ceiling. And then exhale, bring them back down again. So do that again. And then one more time. Inhale, lifting the arms back to the top. When you get there, interlace your fingers. You can rotate the palms toward the ceiling or not. Exhale, tip yourself over to the right. And then inhale, come on back to center. And exhale over to the left. And you're just going to flow side to side. So connected to your breath. Stay as steady and even as you can in your feet. And maybe gradually allow the body to open into a little bit deeper stretch with each breath. Let's go one more time on each side. So getting in there as deep as we're going to for now. And then when you're back to center, just exhale, releasing your arms back to the sides. So hands on the thighs, belly in, shoulders back. Exhale, bring yourself forward into a half fold kind of place. And then a bend into the knees, and we'll round the spine back up again, back to the top. So just following your breath like that, coming forward on the exhale and rounding up on the inhale. Go ahead and take one more breath like that. And then come over into your half fold and hold it for a moment. Find that sort of middle place. Lean on the thighs if you feel like you need to lean, absolutely. Keeping the shoulders back. And this may be a gigantic hamstring stretch for you. And if it is, you're done, right? You don't have to move any deeper. But see if you can make yourself slowly find a little bit deeper fold. So inhale where you are, and then exhale, sink in just that tiniest little bit deeper. And then come back into that sort of halfway place again. Give your hamstrings a little bit of a rest. Exhale a little bit deeper yet. Back up, inhale. And then over again. So each exhalation is drawing you a little bit deeper into the stretch. Until eventually you find where your hamstrings are done, right? And that might be with your forehead on your shins, probably not. But wherever it is, allow yourself to gently work your way there. And sometimes the slower you go, the less time your body has to freak out about it, right? So finding your full fold wherever that might be. Again, supporting with your hands on the thighs if that feels like a better place for you. You can take your hands down to your shins or down to the floor as long as the shoulders will stay back. It's all good. Let yourself just kind of hold here for a moment. And then we're going to step the right foot back and come into a lunge. So a nice big step back there. Let the right knee fall to the floor. And then just wiggle around into your hips a little bit. Shift them forward, back, side to side, whatever you got there. And then find a center. Imagine sweeping your legs toward each other up underneath you. It'll square up your hips a little bit. Let's take left leg straight, or straight-ish, right? So if you have a block, right, you can always prop up here if you need. You can have your hands on the floor, on your thigh, shin, wherever they need to be. Keep the shoulders back, belly in. And then bend back into the knee. See if the hips will drop a little bit lower, but keep them square, right? So keep pulling the legs toward each other. Lengthen through your spine. Bring the left hand to the hip and add a little twist here. So belly rotating around, side ribs drawing back, shoulder drawing back. And then release your twist. You have the option of leaving that back knee on the floor, of course, or lifting it away from the mat and then taking that left leg straight again. So enough is enough, right? Find where it is. And if you still need to prop, prop. Shoulders back, hips are square. You're breathing. You're still breathing, right? And then let's go ahead and bend again. See if the hips will sink any lower. Absolutely drop that back knee if you're feeling a little bit less than stable. We're going to climb up on the thigh here. Lift the chest. The more you press the chest away from that left thigh, the bigger stretch you get in the front of your right, yeah? Hang on if you need to hang on. You can extend the arms, reaching toward the ceiling if that's you. Press through the back heel. Look up if you're not entertained yet enough. And then let's gently release, come back over into your lunge, and step forward back to the fold again. So let yourself kind of hold here for a moment. Notice any differences you may feel. You can wiggle for sure. And then we're going to switch sides. So step the left foot back. Dropping down to the knee, and again, just sort of wiggling around. Find that center, pulling the legs toward each other, taking the right leg straight, and adjusting as you need to adjust, whatever that looks like over here. Sometimes it's different from side to side, so see what happens. Bend back into the knee. Keep the hips nice and square, lengthen your spine, and add your twist. Right hand to the hip, rotating around. Releasing the twist. And again, here deciding left knee on the mat or off. When you're ready, right leg straight. And again, even if it's not quite straight, don't worry about it. Find a hamstring stretch. Try not to let your spine compensate. And then bending back into the knee. Letting the hips descend, maybe a little deeper. Left knee can drop again if it's not already on the floor. We're going to climb up. Lifting the upper body. So find the amount of balance work that's right for you. Find the amount of stretch that's right. Maybe you extend the arms. And then we're going to release it and step forward into our fold again. Take a second, and again, just like before, notice if anything's different, right? Do you feel pretty even again? Morning, Linda. Still breathing, everyone's breathing. So instead of being in our fold, This time we're going to step both feet back and come to a down dog. So let yourself wiggle. Getting into the upper body. Rounding the four corners of the hands into the mat, just like when we did our feet, same idea. So we're going to be on the hands a lot today. Okay? So if you're feeling like you need cushion underneath your hands, take a little bit of cushion, not too much. You don't want it to be too squishy, but you want to keep your wrists happy. And the more you can press down through the index knuckle, the base of the index finger, the less pressure that you'll have on your wrist. So settling into your down dog, sink your heels, press your chest back a little bit maybe. Make sure your belly's working, and we're going to shift forward and come to a plank. So top of a push-up, right? The body is extended. You don't have to hold here just yet. Just make sure your hands and feet are where they should be for plank when you're in down dog, shifting back to down dog. So that's a little test to know exactly where your hands and feet should go if you're feeling like it's maybe not quite right. So let's drop on down to the knees. We're going to sit back in child's pose for just a breath or two. And you can still have the arms extended out, or maybe bring them back by your heels if that feels better. And then stretch them forward again, round into the four corners of the hands like we did. Shift forward, come to kneeling plank. So you can absolutely take full planks if your body wants that, right? It might not yet. We're far from being through, so don't bring yourself to exhaustion just yet. Right? From here, bend your elbows just enough to bring them in line with the side ribs, and then stop and hover for a moment. The chest is open, the shoulders are neutral on the back, your hands are even into the mat, your belly's pulled in, right? Your foot's not sagging or sticking out. Push back up, take it back into a child's pose again. We're not going to hang in these child's poses very long, but if you do need the hands to move back by the heels, then take them there. Everybody doing all right? Diane's on YouTube. Hi, Diane. So from your child's pose back to your kneeling plank, and we're going to do the same thing again. So make sure your body is a nice long line, crown of the head to the knees, belly is in, shoulders are neutral here, and then keep that as you bend your elbows halfway-ish, squeezing into the side ribs, and then push back up and go ahead and sit back. So you have to work really hard, but you get a little break in between, right? So one more time like that. Shift forward. Get that neutral spine. Dip. Elbow squeeze in. Head's in line with your spine. Don't droop your head either. And then push back up and sit back to your child's pose. So let's come back to kneeling plank. Taking the left foot, leave the knee on the floor, but take your foot over to the left side of your mat here. And then open the body to the right. So we're in a modified side plank. Left hand, left knee, with the right foot at the back of your mat. Right? So you're in this nice long line. And on the right side of your body anyway, you could look as if you were standing up. So if you feel like your hips are in a weird place, or your chest is coming forward, find that aligned position here. Does not have to get any fancier than this. Left hand is happy on the mat. Right hand can be on the hip. You can extend toward the ceiling if you like. Let the chest open. Make sure your belly's pulled in. And then you can play here. Right? So you can take the right arm over the ear, stretching forward. Maybe lift your right foot up off the floor. Keep that right shoulder drawn back, shoulders stacked. And then let's release that. Come back into your kneeling plank. So there's lots of things to do there. We'll visit them again. No worries. Take the right foot, bend over to the right. Open the body to the left. Check in that you're aligned, hand, knee, and toes back there. The hips are stacked, the shoulders are stacked, your belly's working. And then the left arm does what it does. If you lift the leg or not, take the arm over the ear perhaps. Just let yourself hold here and play with what feels right for you. Nice and even with that right hand on the floor. And then we're going to release that back to your kneeling plank. And down into a child's pose again. All right, so from our child's pose, round the four corners of the hands like we've been. Let's make our way up into a down dog. So essentially for these purposes here, your child's pose is the easier variation of down dog, right? They're not exactly the same, I don't mean to say that, but it is the resting place if you need a resting place, right? Or a modified version. Because we're on our hands a lot and the arms are going to get tired. Hopefully that's the goal anyway. Belly's pulled in. We're going to shift forward into our plank. Let's just hold, nothing fancy. If you need to be on your knees here, take the knees. No big deal at all. Belly's in, don't let your belly sag. Keeping the core strong, press through your heels, and then shift back to down dog. So remember, the knees can be down in this variation either way, when you're forward in your kneeling planks or down in a child's pose. Same idea, right? You're going to follow your breath here. As you inhale, shift yourself to plank. And then as you exhale, shift back to down dog. So just forward and back like that. Super simple. Belly's working, hands are even, shoulders are neutral on the back. And you can take maybe a couple off your knees, maybe then dropping down to the knees, forward and back. Find where it is for you. Make the belly work. Breathing. All good. So one more time, forward and back. And then if you're not already, drop on down to the knees, set back into your child's pose. And here again, it may feel good to have your hands move back by your heels. All right, so one more challenge. Back to down dog. We're going to add in, so again, you decide if you're on your knees or even if you're on your knees for part of this. So with your inhale, shift forward into your plank or kneeling, bend your elbows, dip, squeeze in tight, push back up, back into a down dog. We're going to do 3 more like that. So come forward, dip, push back up. Again. Modify what you need to modify for sure. Last time. When you're through, go ahead and drop down into your child's pose. So building up the strength for lots of things. Sometimes it's just so that when you hold down dog, it's easier, right? Sometimes you're propping your arms and your shoulders and your belly and all of that for arm balances, right? We need this for lots of different things, and depending on your level is going to be depending on where you go, what you're doing with it, what the purpose is. So let's lift back to down dog. We'll step the feet forward, come into our standing fold. Give the arms a little rest for a moment anyway. Take the feet up underneath the hip bones, the toes pointing forward here. Slide your hands to your thighs. Come halfway up and hold. Belly's in. Shoulders are back. Yeah. Bend into the knees and sit into a chair. So feet, knees, hips in the same plane. You're even on your feet. You're lifting the chest. Tuck the tailbone if you feel like your bum's sticking out back there. Hang on, come center, extend, whatever you'd like to do with your arms. And then we're going to inhale, stretch to the ceiling, and release the arms. So let's take a few flows. We're going to move in through our sun salutes. Remember, you can have knees, right? If you need knees here. Let's inhale, stretch the arms up toward the ceiling. Exhale, take yourself into fold. Halfway up on the inhale. And then exhale, step yourself back into plank. Knees, if you'd like, take it all the way down to the belly this time. No dipping in the middle. Hands next to the side ribs. Just roll your shoulders up by your ears together on your back and down toward your hip bones. Release that up and back, down dog. Inhaling, step forward into fold. The next inhale, we come halfway up. And then exhale over. Come all the way up, stretch to the ceiling. And release the arms. So again, like that, inhale. Exhale, fold. Halfway up. Exhale, plank. Drop it down. And roll, maybe pull, opening the chest a little bit more in your cobra, releasing back to down dog. Stepping forward, inhale. Halfway up. And then back over. All the way to the ceiling, reaching and releasing. We've got one more. Work with your breath, modify or not, right? Inhale into a chair. And then exhale into your fold. Halfway up. And back to plank. Down to the belly, knees if you need knees, certainly. Roll, pull, maybe a little press to your cobra, squeeze your elbows, release that, back to down dog. With the inhale, step the right foot forward, come to lunge. Toes all the way to the fingers. Back knee or heel to the mat. And on an inhale, lift the upper body. Exhale as you come back down again and step back to down dog. Shift forward, plank. Drop it to the belly. Roll, pull, and press to cobra. And then release, back to down dog. Left foot stepping forward. Bring the toes up there, back knee or heel to the mat and lift. Exhale, back down. Stepping back, down dog. Shifting forward into plank. And dropping down. Roll to your cobra. Release, back to down dog. And then, of course, holding your down dog or dropping down to the knees. Take any variation. Make sure you're kind of resting here in the middle. How is everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Take another breath, whether you're in down dog or not. If you did drop down, lift back to down dog. With the inhale, step the feet forward and come back into your standing fold. Halfway up, inhale. And then back over. Into chair here. And then exhale, release it all. right? So we'll take a few standing poses, let the upper body rest a little bit. If straight legs, fingertips to the floor is not easy for you, or if you're balance challenged, so to speak, maybe a block in front of your feet at the top of your mat. Maybe. If it's there, it's not in the way if you don't need it, right? So let's take a short step back with the right foot. We're going to work into a warrior one here. So both feet flat to the floor, toes are pointing forward. We're bending into the left knee, grounding into the right heel. Hips are squared. Keeping the tailbone tucked, lift your chest, maybe lift your arms looking up toward the ceiling. So find where the challenge is, whether it's in that back leg, maybe it's the balance here. Relax your shoulders. Let's take the fingers and we're going to interlace them behind the lower back. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other. Open your chest here. Reach the knuckles toward the right heel. Letting your chest open. Your hands can, or your arms can be touching your backside or lifting away, whatever's good. From here, let's take the left leg straight. Keep the hips square and fold forward. So the hands can again be away from your lower back or resting on your lower back, but stretch away from the shoulders. Feeling that? Release your hands, and ideally on either side of the foot. You can prop if you need to prop, certainly. We're going to leave the right hand on the floor, bring the left hand to the hip, and add a little twist here. So rotate your belly around to the left. Side ribs, shoulder drawing back. Still really stable on your feet, square through your hips. And then release the twist. So a little cushion bend into the left knee here, bringing your hands forward as you come up on the back toes, and then lift that right foot away from the floor. So get your legs straight, set, not necessarily straight. Ideally, yes, maybe not. Nice and even into the four corners of your left foot. That right foot is extending away from the body. See about bringing the left hand to the hip now. And the right hand can be on the floor or up on the block, just like it was before. See about adding a little bit of a twist. Rotating the belly, shoulder. Extending out the crown of your head. Take one more breath. Release the twist. Bend back into the knee. Step way back into a lunge. And then lift the upper body. Just another variation of our warrior one here. Let's release the arms and step back to the top of the mat. So the arms are getting a break, but hopefully your legs and core are still working. Let's go second side, same idea. Left foot back. Four corners flat to the mat. Bending into the right knee when you're ready, making sure your hips and shoulders are square. And then lifting the arms. Take your time building your pose. Feeling stable. And then building on top of all of that. Taking the fingers to interlace again. If you want to go deeper into your shoulders, if they need a bigger stretch, you can maybe grab opposite elbow back there. Otherwise, just fingers interlaced is fine. Shoulders draw back, knuckles reach back toward that left heel, up off the back or not. Keeping the chest open. And then taking the right leg straight-ish and coming forward. Take your time, breathe. Releasing the fingertips to the mat or to your block. Keeping the leg fairly straight. If it needs a bend in your right knee here, take it. If you need your block, take it. Let's add in the twist. Right hand to the hip and rotating around. Nice big breaths. Extend out the crown of your head. Releasing the twist. Again, that cushion bend in the right knee for sure now. Bringing your hands forward, the block if it's coming with you, lifting the left foot away from the floor. Ideally, that leg is hip height, right, parallel-ish to the floor. Maybe not, right? But push through the heel. Make it really strong wherever you are. Bring the right hand to the hip and add in your twist here. Remember, these are extra. Getting your balance and not falling on your face would be priority, right? Take a big breath. And then release the twist. Bending back into the knee, let's step way back for our lunge. And then lift the upper body. Release the arms. Instead of stepping forward, go ahead and step back, down dog. Give yourself a little wiggle, a stretch if that feels good. And then drop on down to the knees and back into your child's pose again. So the harder you work, the bigger you get to rest. So let's shift into down dog. We're going to work with our side planks again. So if the kneeling variations that we did earlier were tons of work, then hang out there. That's totally fine, right? It's working the same muscles. If you're ready to add in, you've had a little bit of a break for the arms, you're happy with that, let's go ahead and step the right foot, shift into a plank. Make sure your hands and feet are set. And then back to your down dog. Keep your hands and feet where they are. Except we're going to step the right foot roughly halfway to the hands. Closer is not better. Let those toes turn out to the right side of your mat and bring the foot flat to the floor. Roll to the outside edge of your left foot. So your heel is down on the mat back there. So this is basically a knee up variation of where we were before, right? Belly's in, the hips don't sag, they don't stick out behind us, the chest doesn't collapse forward. The body is in that nice long line. Take a big breath. And then release that back to down dog. So you have the idea, right? Shift forward into plank again if you need to. Check out that your hands and feet are far enough apart. That's where it all begins, of course. So then the same idea to the second side, the left foot steps halfway up, the toes turn out, we roll to the outside of the right foot, and here we are. So modify if you need to modify. Certainly that right knee can drop to the floor. And then we're going to release and come back to down dog. Go ahead and drop down, take your break in child's pose. So you've got a couple of options already with that side plank. We'll work into the wrists to give them a nice break before we end. Everybody doing all right? So come on back to down dog. You've got those two options and you can stick with it, right? If you're ready to add on, take that quick shift into plank. Again, just double check your hands and feet every time. It's worth the second there. Back to your down dog. Right foot's going to step roughly halfway up. We roll to the outside of the left foot. Belly's in, shoulders are back, and you're happy here. Or maybe You can lean a little bit less into your right foot and lift it up off the floor for a second. Even if it's a millisecond, right? Up and down a couple of times, make sure your belly is working, and then release it back to your down dog. That same idea to the second side. So left foot steps forward, you roll to the outside of the right foot. Your belly's doing all of the work here. Your arm doesn't pick up your foot. Can your belly pick up your foot? Kind of. Back to your down dog. And then down into child's pose. So you've got one more variation on that theme, right? If you've had enough and you've been working and you want to drop down to the knees this time, or you want to stay in child's pose this time, up to you. Always up to you, right? So let's go. Back to a kneeling plank perhaps, or a down dog if you're going there. Stepping the right foot forward, halfway. Toes turn out, we roll to the outside of the left foot. We're in our modified side plank here. Hang here, lean less into the right foot, maybe lift it up for half a second, pull your belly in like crazy, maybe lift it up and step it behind you. And then step it forward, and then back, forward, back one more time, and back to your down dog. So that's the idea. Maybe you get to step forward once and it falls apart. It's totally fine. Work where you are. Left foot halfway up. Finding your side plank, whatever variation you're going for. Maybe lifting the foot up and stepping it back. And forward. And back. Forward. One last time. And into down dog. Go ahead and drop on down, take your child's pose. And then let's work out the wrists a little bit. So come forward out onto hands and knees. And again here, if you need to have your hands cushioned a little bit, you can certainly give them a little bit of cushion. Let's take the hands, instead of having your fingers point forward, rotate the fingers outward, so your thumb is turning clockwise, right? And see if you can bring the fingers to point toward your knees. Ideally, the wrists are still in line with the shoulders, right up underneath there. And maybe the heel of the hand is even to the top edge of the mat. Maybe not quite. So if you have your knees closer to your fingers, it's much easier. If you walk them back a little bit, you'll start to feel a stretch. If you're a hyperextender, like I do, your elbows will pop forward and then there's really no stretch, right? But try not to hyperextend your elbow. Keep it just softly bent. And if you still want more, you can start to shift your hips back toward your heels until you feel enough stretch. So find where that is. It's there. And then gently release. Shift the hips forward. Walk your knees in, wherever. Gently kick your hands up. Turn them over so the back of your hand is flat on the floor. All the way to the wrist. And try to get as much of the hand on the floor as you can. That includes your thumb. Ideally, still here, the wrists are up underneath the shoulders. The arms are straighter than bent. Okay? And that's why you're starting to feel enough stretch. So maybe they're straight, maybe they have to be very, very bent. You can lean a little bit of body weight if that feels good. Okay? Don't do it if it doesn't feel good. Nice and gentle and slow. Take your time with these things, right? Your hands aren't used to being in these positions. Try and keep the back of your hand on the floor, but curl your fingers in and make a fist. Make as tight a fist as you can with the wrist on the floor and your elbows straighter than bent. And then take your arms or your fingers out again. So nice wide hand. Quickly, but intentionally, squeeze your fingers in. Widen the fingers. Squeeze your fingers in. Take them wider. In and out like that. Go one more time. Good squeeze. And then really wide. Sit back on your heels for a second here or down on your bottom, however, and gently roll your wrists. Roll them in both directions. And you'll know, they'll start to feel a little bit looser. More loose. And then you can kind of flop them around, forward and back. And then shake them out. That's my favorite part. All right, so let's release all that. Bring the legs around. Extending the legs out long. Take inner thigh rotation here so that you're upright on your pelvis. If you need to lift your hips a little bit, that's fine. Just keep a gentle little bend. Again, trying not to hyperextend at the knee. Belly's in, we're sitting nice and tall. Let's stretch the arms up. And then come forward into fold. Let the hands fall, maybe on your toes, maybe not. Lead with your chest toward your toes rather than your fingers or your shoulders. With an inhale, we're going to come back up again. And then release the arms. So the legs can kind of be wherever you want them to. They can stay extended. You can bring your heels in and just sit normally, or you can take a lotus if you're a lotus person. Anywhere your pelvis can be upright. We're just going to stretch out our shoulders here, nothing fancy. So let's go ahead and take the left arm out, bring it in front. Take the right arm underneath, leave it between the hand and the face, and see if you can catch your fingers to the left hand. Try to relax into your shoulders. There's a variation here. If that's not happening, you can simply grab opposite shoulder, stacking the elbows, maybe giggling into it a little bit deeper as the body is good with that. See if you can relax your shoulders down, but lift your fingertips up. Me. Release it. Move it around a little bit. And then we'll switch. So the right arm out and in front. The left arm under, between. Maybe the fingers catch. Maybe you need to just grab opposite elbow. Shoulder. So you go where your body will allow you to go. Try to relax your shoulders. Sit nice and tall here. Lifting the fingertips. And you can adjust the hands a little bit closer to your face or a little bit further away. Okay. And then release the arms again. Take them out a little bit after every little piece if that feels good. Just kind of roll them around a little bit. So then we're going to take the left arm out. Bring the fingertips kind of behind your neck, between your shoulders-ish, right? The right hand can help the elbow point as much toward the ceiling as possible. Keeping your head upright, try not to let it fall forward. Take your right hand behind your lower back, and then inch your fingertips up your spine until maybe you find your left fingers, and maybe you don't. Right? So you can absolutely use a strap here to hang on to if you need. Otherwise, just kind of keep reaching in that direction. Relax your shoulders, head in line with your spine. You're sitting evenly. Sometimes your back will twist around so you can kind of grab your fingers, but don't worry about that part. Just keep stretching in that direction, and one day the fingers show up. Maybe. Take a big breath. Gently release what you got there. Again, just give it a gentle roll. And we'll switch. So then the right hand between. Let the hand help the elbow point more toward the ceiling. And then the left hand comes up behind. And maybe you find fingers over here, or maybe still not. Don't worry about it. Sit nice and tall. And then we'll gently release that. Again, one more time, give them a roll. Last shoulder stretch. And I'm going to turn around so you can see what's going on with my hands. Taking the hands behind, instead of the fingers pointing toward the body, turn them to point behind you. Keep them shoulder width-ish apart back there, and then walk them back. Wherever back is. If they get really wide, it gets easy. If you hyperextend your elbows, it gets easy. Neither of those things, right? And then walk the hands back in. Give them a little roll. Bring the soles of the feet together. Hang on to your ankles, draw the heels in toward the groin, sit really tall here. So hang it on, lift your chest, make sure your belly is working, and lean back and up to balance. So normally we rely on the core, and sometimes we rely on the arms a little bit, but relax your belly and let your legs be really heavy so that your arms across your shoulders, maybe your chest even a little bit, feels a nice big stretch. We work those areas really hard today. Give them a little bit of a stretch. And then go ahead and C-curve your spine and roll on down to your back. So the soles of the feet are going to be together. Let them come to the floor and relax your knees to the sides. Release the belly again. That's been doing a lot of work for you today. Gently draw the knees in together. And then bring them into the chest and rock a little bit. So then the final twist is always your option, whatever variations you need, of course, here. So opening the arms out into a T position, you can leave the knees into the chest, drop your feet to the floor, maybe shift your hips first, take the legs over to the right. You can relax the muscles and really let gravity pull you in, or you can add maybe crossing your legs or taking the legs straight. Just finding the variation that your body needs from you today. Nice and easy. We're going to bring it back up to center.
And whatever variation you did on that side, take the second side. Same, similar idea. Take another nice big breath here. Gently bring yourself back up to center. And then one last time here, draw the knees into the chest and let yourself rock. Squeeze the knees in as tight as you can get, pulling your forehead toward the knees. Release it out into a full body stretch. And then release your stretch. Bring the arms down by your sides and adjust the body to where you feel comfortable for Shavasana here. So some days that might be different than others. So listening to what the body needs from you. When you find that comfy spot, release into it. So no more wiggling. Body just do its thing. Release control of the breath. Let the breath do its thing. Taking a few minutes here to simply absorb the work that the body has done. Being aware and quiet. Allowing yourself a few minutes to simply be. Slowly draw in a deep cleansing breath. And then let it all go. Gently allow the body to begin to wiggle, move, and Stretch. And as you're ready, slowly, quietly, bring yourself back up to a seated position. Sitting well, bringing the palms to touch, bowing to the light within. Namaste. Thanks for playing today, you guys. I hope your arms and chest and shoulders and belly feel this later or tomorrow or the next day, maybe even. All right. Remember, you can always peek over to anydayyoga.com for, like I said, more classes. There's memberships available. I am starting the 4-week Get Zen program. So if you were in one of the challenges, the 15-minute challenge, that's basically it with some add-ons, and it's 4 weeks long. So pop over there, and like I said, anydayyoga.com, and check that out under workshop descriptions. There'll be more information, and then of course we start Monday. So have a great weekend. If you have any questions in the middle, or if you've got requests for poses for next week, give me a holler. Otherwise, have a good one, and I'll see you next week, if not before. Thank you, guys.